Welcome to the Sports Marketing Huddle. I'm your host, Rob Cressy, founder of Bacon Sports. And today's topic, how to do something you've never done before and overcoming the fear of it. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because I have a webinar coming up on Wednesday, November 13th at 2 p.m. Eastern on how to easily launch a podcast. And this is something that I'm putting together to help people on their journey of launching a podcast, because I've published over 500 episodes before, and starting a podcast absolutely changed my life and my business. You have the ability to talk to anyone you dream of. You give people a reason to look forward to talking to you, and you can put some positive vibes and information out in the world. And I know that starting a podcast is always the hardest part because you don't know what you're doing. I had no prior experience. I had no clue what I was doing when it came to podcasting. So what I decided to do was reverse engineer how I did it step by step so that everybody else, you included, can learn from my mistakes to launch a podcast faster with higher quality and more confidence. So here's the thing. Now that I've got this webinar, what stopped me from doing this before? And this is something that's been on my mind for a long time. I read Lewis Howes' book on how to create a webinar. I actually took his webinar course, so I've got all of the information there. But for month after month after month, I have not published a webinar. And you know why? Very candidly, what has stopped me from doing this? What if no one shows up? And I know this is a fear or a thought that a lot of people have on a lot of different creative endeavors. Since I've never done a webinar before, I'm like, all right, well, how do you get people to it? And of course, I'm hitting up LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and my podcast and my newsletter and promoting it every way that you can conceivably think of. But guess what? What if no one shows up? And you put in this work of putting a webinar together where you really just want to help other people, but you don't know if the results are going to be there. And so often I recommend to people when it comes to creative endeavors, and certainly on the podcasting side of things, that you've got to do this for yourself. You can't worry about the prize. And it very much speaks to the inner artist inside of me, where you say, you know what? I'm not going to worry about what the results may be. If 0 people show up, yeah, take one on the chin and that'll suck. But the only way that I'm going to get 1 person to sign up for a webinar or 2 people is to keep doing it. And it's the same thing as the mindset with fan engagement. So many brands, they never give their fans an opportunity to engage with them because they never ask a question. Maybe they ask a question once, but no one responds. And then they end it there. I think it's the same mindset there. And so often when you hear people in the webinar or digital marketing world, they talk with like, oh, just send this out to your list and your partner's lists of 100,000 people, and you're going to turn this into a $50,000 launch campaign in 4 minutes. And you're like, oh, it's that easy? When the reality is it's so far from the truth, certainly for people who are starting at the very beginning without these assets or without having done this before. So that's what stopped me. But why am I plowing forward and doing this? There's several reasons. Number one, I want to grow my brand. I believe in the power of webinars because I've been on the receiving end of some of them, because it's how I found some amazing people who have helped me on my journey from an education standpoint and a personal development standpoint. And it's a great opportunity to deliver some value for others for free. And it really helps build that connection in a way unlike any other. Number two, I legitimately want to help people. I love it. It's why I put together my podcast course, launchingpodcast.com, where anything that I can do from my journey that I can reverse engineer to help someone else on theirs, I want to do. So there's a legitimate, I want to help them. And I want to continue to do this. So the only way that I'm going to get proficient at webinars and growing my brand in different ways is by continually testing and trying new things. And just like riding a bike, you've got to do it once and you've got to fall off and you got to learn and you got to keep going back over and over and over again. And another great example of this is live streaming or being on video. It's so uncomfortable for so many people who have never been on video before to say, Rob, I've just never done this before. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm afraid of this, but you've really got to build the muscle. And that's really what it is I need to build the muscle of being on a webinar, and I've never done that before. And even though I feel uncomfortable doing it, I'm just going to walk towards the fear because, it's on the other side of fear. Nothing. Here's one of my favorite quotes. I think Jamie Foxx said that on the Tim Ferriss podcast. So let's translate this over to the world of marketing. How does this relate to marketing? Marketing, business, and life are filled with excuses for why we can't do things. Rob, I don't have the time. I don't have the budget. I don't have the resources. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm afraid. Why would anyone care what I have to say? This is so ripe in so many different areas of business and life. And even think to yourself about this, about the excuses you make on the things that you want to do. And I really work on that side of myself because I want to be accountable to myself. Number one, among all things, is self-accountability and not making excuses. But guess what? In the marketing world, and I can tell you this from the business development and the conversations that I have, certainly when it comes to forward-thinking content mediums, podcast and video and live streaming, you know what, Rob? The time just isn't right. Oh, maybe we'll get to this later. Hey, have you ever thought about creating a podcast? Oh, yeah, we did like a year or two ago, but we never really did anything with that. I'm not really sure why. Or, oh, is that on your radar? Yeah, it's on radar. But, so when are you going to get to it? I don't know. I mean, it's the end of the year now. We're doing like 30, 60-day planning, and I don't know. And you hear this same average talk of excuses and nothingness. And I'm sick of it because I don't relate to that at all. And I'm always trying to overcome that. And I want to help you overcome this yourself. So you need to ask yourself, are you an excuses person or brand? And if so, why? Is that how you want to get down? Because that's not how I get down. And that's not what's going to lead you towards success. Instead of saying why I can't do something, why not me? Why can't I be the one to figure this out? Why can't I be the one to say, you know what? I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. Because guess what? You can look at me as an example. I didn't know how to do anything that I'm doing. At one point, I'd never been on camera. I'd never done a live stream. I'd never done a podcast. I didn't know crap about social media marketing. I'd never thrown an event. I didn't know anything about apparel. All I was a creator who loved to write and knew that he could build the world in his image. And I'll figure the rest out from there. You need to have that mindset. And that's what I hope you can learn from this is you can build fire and momentum from discomfort and not knowing what you're going to do. Because guess what? On Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, when I do the webinar, I'm going to be straight spit and fire. I'm going to have so much fun doing it. And I'm not going to worry about if there's 0 people there at all, because I'm just going to do it. I'm going to learn. I'm going to deliver as much value as I humanly can. And when I'm done, guess what? I'm going to look back and be like, what in the world was I worried about with the webinar? Why would I be concerned that no one shows up? Because guess what? I got to learn and I got to keep on moving forward and forward and forward. So I want to hear from you about this episode. What is something that you've been holding back on that you've never done that you know you should? Let me know. I want to help support you and be a positive asset to you on your journey because, like I said, I'm an example of overcoming fear. And this webinar that I'm doing is an example of this. And I like to practice what I preach. By no means I'm the opposite of perfect, but I'm at least willing to move forward in the name of self-improvement. And I want to share that knowledge with you. As always, you can hit me up on all social media platforms at Rob Cressy and would love to jam with you, be a positive asset. And one last reminder, if you ever thought about creating a podcast and you want to know how, sign up for the webinar. I will put the link in the show notes. It is Wednesday, November 13th at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to teach you the step-by-step process for how to easily launch a podcast. Hope you have yourself a fantastic rest of the day. Boom shakalaka.